All right, hey everyone, Paul C. Tarina here. Who else would it be? Had a great meeting yesterday and just wanted to go through a summary of the information that we covered and leave you with some final thoughts and some final points. First of all, thank you so much for joining us on this iteration of this Purist and Fat Loss program. We've never pieced it together like this. After going through it, it is solid, like it really is solid. And at the same time, we know that we can make it better and improve things. So we'd love your feedback on it. We'd love to hear what your experience was. If you implemented things, what kind of things you noticed change. If you had a hard time implementing things, what was difficult about it? What could we do to facilitate things and make them just a little bit better? Had a really good discussion yesterday, had a good showing, and I think some of the main points that we talked about were just basically going through the things and the principles that we learned and then having some discussion topics and points off of that. So I've put together a summary sheet of all our key points and things to consider going forward. I'm going to cover that real quick. And then there's also a PDF document of this handout for your convenience that you can print out. I'd probably put it with your manual. So the first key point is 100% real food. Always, indefinitely, from this point forward. If there's nothing else that you take from this program, it is staying 100% real food is going to serve you for a lifetime. And I understand we have a lot of access to a lot of approved things, and those are definitely healthier options and alternatives, when we have these special occasions. But we need to look at that moderated a lot category as very occasional things and things that we're only going to use in situations that require us, to have or participate or something like that gives us a healthy option. Those are not good things for us on a regular basis. Staying 100% real food, fresh produce, like I'm telling you right now, whether you consider and take into account carbs and all the other principles that we learned, just being 100% real food and following the ideal days meals, I think for most people is going to be a huge game changer. I know it was for most of us in here that were able to follow it. If you have any questions on what's in the moderated a lot category or what's allowed or not allowed, just let us know, okay? Balance and nutrient density where it counts, and we talked about this briefly. So balance when it comes to plant matter, we're looking for the holy grail of plant matter, and that includes bobar on a regular basis, doesn't have to be daily, but most days, and then cycling through our different greens. We recommend spinach, kale, and arugula, and you can do spring greens and whatever combination of those different things that you want. Question came up about whether we should cook it or not cook it. Is it okay to cook it? Our view on cooking is just don't obliterate stuff. We think from an evolutionary template perspective, we've been cooking for 300,000 years, estimated, So whether you cook or don't cook, I think it's a wash. I think you need to mix it up a little bit. I think that when you cook, you need to just do it gently and lightly, or as lightly and gently as you possibly can, versus obliterating it for extended periods of time at super high heat. Okay, just a little bit of intuition there, understanding that when I cook foods, when I steam them or gently cook them, I actually make some nutrients more bioavailable, and then I do degrade some nutrients. When I eat things raw, I do get access to some nutrients that I degrade when I cook, and at the same time, some of those nutrients I can't access because it's bound up in tough, cellular walls and fibrous walls and things like that, especially when you're talking about plant matter. So to answer the question, should you cook or not cook, I'd say it doesn't matter. Cook it, just eat real food is the main focus. And then whether you like it cooked or not cooked is just completely up to you. As an advanced, strategy going forward, I'd say mix it up here and there. I do raw greens and stuff, but when my greens go bad, I'll start to cook them. Bobar, I do raw sometimes. Sometimes I'll saute it in bacon grease and mix it up with other stuff. So I get a pretty good mix of that kind of stuff. Also, when it comes to balance, make sure that you're doing organ meats as often as you feel comfortable. I'd say every couple of weeks is fine. Once a month is even fine. And then shellfish, try to get in every couple of weeks. Try to rotate through some different options with shellfish. I do canned oysters. I do the mussels from Whole Foods. When I think about it, I'll do some shrimp or some scallops, and I need to venture into some of these other things that I'm not too familiar with or comfortable with. And then, of course, our superfoods of egg yolks regularly, most days, butter most days, bone stock most days. You can make your own bone stock. If you came to our fermentation class yesterday and superfoods class, it was great. We learned how to do that. Cod liver oil we touched on, haven't said a whole lot about. I'll probably do a separate post and video on cod liver oil, but our cod liver oil is just superior and top notch. It's really, really great. All right, now moderation where it counts. The preface to this is, if you're not seeing the results that you want, you have to moderate things and you have to measure them. And if you don't know, then you don't know, right? So moderation where it counts comes to our carbohydrates. So our safe starches and our fruits, we'd say what's the sweet spot for most people is going to be a cup of each per evening. Even more ideal would be a little bit less than a cup, because we mentioned in the meeting yesterday, a cup of rice is a lot of rice, you know, for some of us. So we'd say maximum of a cup of each per evening. John Nixon asked, well, what if I do a half a cup of safe starches? Can I do like a cup and a half of fruit? Absolutely. Experiment, try it out, go by how you look, feel, and perform. You know, I think 2 cups in general of either or both. A combination of that is going to be still keep you lower carbish, keep you 100 grams of net carbs, and that's, you know, still going to facilitate feeling amazing and body composition changes and all that stuff for most people. I mean, you know, this is going to be relative. And then we want to make sure that we're managing blood sugar levels, and I think the glucometer is such a useful tool. So remember, we're testing in the morning to give us an idea of what we need to change the day before. So if I have high blood sugar levels in the morning consistently, I need to start pulling back on my carbohydrates today for better numbers tomorrow, and or I need to start timing my meals a little bit different, or maybe even having smaller portions at my meals. So that morning reading is giving us feedback to change the previous day's activities or today's activities for better numbers tomorrow morning. And remember, the reason that we're looking for this is we want to have, you know, blood sugar levels are our indirect measurement of insulin, and so we want to be in a state of self-sufficiency, fat burning most of the time, and that's just one of the ways that we can measure that. All right, then the other time that we want to measure blood sugar levels is going to be after foods. So 2 hours post foods, we're looking for 120 or less, and that's going to be relative. I know some of us are dealing with some blood sugar handling issues, and so it's all going to be relative. But ideally 120 milligrams per deciliter or less 2 hours post meal. And we want to do that after our starches, after our fruits, after our sugars, and then we can even start to do it after meals to try to pinpoint problematic foods. And so this is going to give us an idea of how we can customize our eating to see which foods are actually keeping us in high states of blood sugar levels for extended periods of time. And again, our goal is to be in this self-sufficiency state as often as we possibly can. And then finally, nurturing natural space, and then strategic fasting. So 12 hours minimum between evening and morning meal the next day. That doesn't have to be between your lunch and dinner. You know, so if you have a lot of space going on one side of your feeding window and you have a couple meals close together, that's perfectly fine. But I'd say 12 hours of space between dinner and breakfast the next day, and then nurturing space everywhere you can. I think most of us are going to do best on 2 meals a day, go into 1 meal a day some days, like a 24-hour fast, doing a 36-hour fast once every couple of weeks, and then trying to do some kind of an extended fast, like at least once a month, where you're pushing that 48-hour boundary or 3-day plus boundary. I tried to do a 3-day this past week, and I mean, it wasn't just crazy like unbearable, but I mean, it just didn't happen, and that's perfectly fine. I don't get upset with myself about that, because I'm always pushing the boundary. Some weeks I'll get a 48-hour in, some weeks I'll get 3 days, some weeks I'll get 5-day. You know, it's no big deal. But we want to nurture that. We want to push that. We want to experiment with it and notice how we react to those different things in those situations. Maybe we find that we do better with a couple of meals in a day, and that maybe we overeat if we do 1 meal a day or something like that. Or you can experiment with, when you do 1 meal a day, making sure that you moderate your portions and you only have a certain amount and you let things register a little bit. So, so anyway, those are the key points. 100% real food, always. Balance and nutrient density. Bobar, greens, and then doing organ meats and all the different superfoods that we talked about, moderating our carbohydrates, making sure that we're managing our blood sugar levels, or at least using that as some data and some input that we can use to manipulate things a little bit, and then nurturing space where we can, and then experimenting with strategic fasting and extended fasting, okay? Love you guys so much. It was a great experience. Please do me a big favor. Give us some feedback. Let us know what your experience was like. You know, what things changed for you in a good way or not in a good way. What did you learn? What can we do to make this better for future groups? We genuinely care. Like, we're putting this information out from the heart. We really want to empower other people. So give us some feedback so we can help others. And then also leave us a review. You know, go to Facebook, go to Yelp, go to Google+, leave us a review, because that helps to empower others. You know, your experience with this counts, and it matters to other people. People want to hear what's going on with us. So. All right, thank you guys so much. Let us know how we can help you and keep you moving forward with all this stuff. All right, it's been a great experience. Thank you.